In this episode, I share a core concept in the Dressage Naturally program. It's the key to getting results, and even more importantly, it's the key to you creating and being able to recreate results independently. So here we go, episode 203, Precision and Play. Hi, I'm Karen Rohlf, and welcome to Horse Training in Harmony. This podcast is about you making progress with your horse in a way that you both can love. It's about learning how to move and be in harmony. Because yes, you really can develop a horse to be both athletic and happy. When we show up as our best selves for our horses will show up for us. So let's get started. Precision arrives out of the possibilities that play creates. That's one of my favorite quotes, and there is so much in that simple sentence. So this whole podcast episode is going to be about that. And this is definitely one of those subjects that I went scrolling through my list of podcast titles and searching on my own podcast website, because I'm thinking, I have to have talked about this already. I must have done an episode just about this. And, it's kind of like the things that are the nose in front of your face. It's hardest to see them. And so I had not made an episode on this. So I'm really, really excited to talk about this. It's also really good timing to talk about it, which is probably why it's on my mind. Because right now, as I release this podcast, my Finding the Sweet Spot of Healthy Biomechanics course is open. We only open it for registration twice a year, so we're ready for a new semester. And this concept of precision and play is one of the core tenets and core pieces of the course. So these days, it's not hard as a student or anybody to gather information and knowledge. And that's pretty amazing, right? You don't have to go buy a whole thing of encyclopedias that then, get obsolete. The internet is pretty amazing. However, also as a teacher, for the past many years, multiple decades, I also see the struggles that students have, and I experience struggles too. So the problem with having instant access to all the information you could ever want is that now I'm seeing people getting lost in the swirl of information. And I find myself getting lost in swirls of information. You can look up anything and accumulate infinite, seemingly, numbers of facts. But the trouble is, in real life, there are facts, and then there's facts that serve us, and then there's facts that are right only at the right time, and there's facts such as the early bird gets the worm, and there's facts such as, good things come to those who wait. It's a fact that inviting a horse to increase his tempo while encouraging them to come up and stretch over their top line can be hugely beneficial. And it's a fact that emphasizing pull high with a slower tempo can be hugely beneficial. So, those are both facts, but it just depends on, which fact is actually helpful. Depends on some other factors. And there's also facts that are facts until, a year goes by, and then you figure out that that's actually not a fact, and another fact has popped up in its place. So while it is valuable to know details for sure, and there's a lot of knowledge that is really valuable, a lot of information isn't really helpful unless you have a way to determine when to use what pieces of information. Makes sense, right? So I love learning. I see all this stuff out there. I see students digesting all kinds of stuff, and there's this, that, and that, and this, and that, and this, and that, and this, and that. They're getting a depth of knowledge, but I'm not necessarily seeing an increase in the practical application of that knowledge. And then there's a lot of emotions wrapped up into it too. So, I mean, you guys know, look on social media and you will see people hurling facts at each other, screaming information into the wind, trying to find an absolute rule for life, within certain parameters, and good luck with that. Look, it's okay to want to be correct and precise. However, on our way to being as perfect as we can be, there are many, many moments that will be less than correct, but they're still hugely better than yesterday. There are moments that will look totally wrong, but are beautifully in harmony and understanding. Think of ballroom dance competition. Then think of an elderly couple dancing together in harmony and in love. Are you going to look at the lack of correct extension in the woman's arm and tell her she's wrong? Are you going to scream at them for looking down and how damaging that is for the health of their backs? Life and horses is not always about being perfect, and I've never seen a happy perfectionist. Life is about finding harmony within ourselves, harmony between each other. And lack of confidence from perfectionism is the biggest killer of progress. So on my way to being perfection in harmony, I will always choose to start with harmony and build on that. And that's what I teach. And it's why so many students end up giving such a big sigh of relief when they start the Finding the Sweet Spot of Healthy Biomechanics program, because it's so freeing in so many ways. Now, also, there's this other dynamic I see, and, I come way back when from the competitive world where, I know that too many of the problems that we're now seeing coming out in the competitive dressage world has originated from trying to make things look more perfect than they actually are, right? So you're trying to, if the horse is resisting in their jaw, well, you put the noseband on so you can't see them open it. If they're not in self-care, you just kind of hold them up and get that curb chain, right? So there's a lot of techniques that are in the competitive world that are designed around getting it done, making it look like it's working, even when it's not. I'm not saying that's everybody. There's lots of people in the competitive world who are really trying to do the right thing. But it's this sort of culture and environment where that starts to happen. And I see it now as this new wave of dressage, right? So there's new people coming out really highlighting more horsemanship in it, more emphasis on self-carriage, more emphasis on the relationship, and more classical lightness principles. But I see the new wave of dressage is falling into the same trap, right? So there's many, many good people out there now who want to do right by the horse, but who are offering a different way. But still, you get out there on Facebook, it's all about the relationship, but man, the shaming and the the tone. So there's still these harsh critiques and an emphasis on perfection. And I think it's missing the point because, of course, there are very important things that need to be, changed and that need to be said. But with this harshness and the that's wrong and this is right, that kind of mentality, it's going to suck a whole new batch of riders down the same rabbit hole the competitive riders are in now. Better not make a mistake. Better look perfect all the time. Make the horse get there now. People are watching. I mean, where I used to train, it was like a crime if your horse went above the bit. If your horse was above the vertical for a moment or, resisted up there, it was like, look at that. Her horse threw its head up. Now it's a crime if a horse ever goes behind the vertical or low. And like neither situation is right. It's all in flow and all the criteria are invented and none of the rules matter unless you're in front of a particular horse and you know what they were doing yesterday and you know what you're doing today so that tomorrow is better. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure not perfect yet. And most of the people that I teach and help are not perfect. We're all just trying to take tomorrow, make it better today, and ride today so it's better tomorrow. So, and I think we can do that while still making important points and getting important information out there. It's the how, not the what. So instead we need playfulness and attention to detail and awareness of change and keen observation, a deeper and more holistic feeling, like ability to feel in a more holistic way. Not to mention, we need compassion. These are the things that are going to give us the best results with even small bits of information. And this, I think, is the important part. Yes, knowledge. Yes, facts. Yes, be informed. Yes, all of that. And you can take very small bits of information and run with it and maximize it if you stay playful, with attention to detail, with awareness of change, with keen observation, with deeper and more holistic ability to feel, not to mention compassion. We need to see our horses, read all the signs, and do our best to do things that make today better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. So in a world of information of what perfect horsemanship looks like, and in a world where paralysis by analysis and fear of judgment that comes with it, I focus, and I always have focused on teaching how to ask questions, knowing what questions to ask yourself and what to play with your horse, and how to feel for the answers from your horses. And in a world full of analyzing photos for perfection, I teach you how to create change, knowing that it's possible to have a situation where things still look so much less than perfect, yet they still indicate a positive breakthrough from where they were yesterday. So we, and by we I mean myself, my Dressage Naturally instructors, fellow students inside the program, we focus on celebrating the change and focus on giving you the confidence and the courage to keep going and continue to make the changes you want to make. It's less about where you are, it's about where are you going. Because, none of us are ever good enough. I don't think. I never feel good enough, right? So how can we ever be good enough for our horses? I mean, really. So the sooner we acknowledge that and forgive ourselves and embrace simply doing our best, the sooner we will become better. So in a world full of expertise and experts and gurus, I do my best to teach with humbleness. You're like, yeah, how humble are you, Karen? You have your own podcast and you're the one talking all the time. Caught me. No, but really, I teach with humbleness. I'm trying to show you what you can do. And one of the very practical ways that shows up is by modeling the power of not knowing. So we only see what's already in our minds. That's limiting. So I do my best to approach everything less from a perspective of expertise and more from a place of curiosity. And that's always going to help you see more. You're going to see more if you don't have the picture already in your mind. I hope that makes sense. Because you're just open to whatever you might be seeing not your preconceived idea of what you're seeing. And I mean, that happens a lot when students tell me the story of their horse. Well, he always does this. I'm like, well, he's not doing it right now. Yeah, but he always does this, but he's not doing it right now. Yeah, but he might. But I can see it from a clean slate. I'm like, well, here's what's actually happening. Let's focus on that. And it's also why I teach less about strict rules of what to do. And instead, I like to show people what the dials are that they can change. What are the possibilities? What are the parts that they can wiggle around a little bit? What are the questions to ask their horse? And then let's observe and see what happens. Precision arrives out of the possibility that play creates. All right, so what exactly does that mean? Well, this is, like I said, it's the heart of the sweet spot protocol. And here's the idea. For each horse and each movement in each moment on each day, there is a certain amount of relaxation, energy, and balance, a certain combination of those three dials where you're going to think, ooh, this feels great. And it feels easy. And then you're in the sweet spot, right? But that's not just a meme. It's a plan. So the three conversations, this is for healthy biomechanics. So this is the sweet spot for healthy biomechanics protocol. If you want to change your horse's posture, there's three main dials you can turn. Something about relaxation, something about energy, and something about balance. Those are the three things that if I'm riding a horse and they're like happy little camper going along, and I want to say, okay, things are going really nicely. I think it's time to change how they're moving. Those are the conversations I'm going to have, right? And so often when a student, so this is what I teach, right? So first we make sure we have those conversations and we build them, and we make sure that if you tell your horse, hey, chill out at any moment, can they do it? Can you turn that dial of relaxation? And then how much scope do we have in the energy department? Can you bring the energy down and can you bring it way up? How on demand is it? Where are the limits to where your horse starts to become emotional or impulsive or bored out of their mind? And the same thing with balance. So balance, you can change them longitudinally, laterally, the front end, the back end, the neck. Every little place you put their body is going to change the balance a little bit. And those are the conversations we set up independently, in isolation, separately. Make sure we have communication. So if you say, hey, horse, could you move your shoulder to the left? They go, yeah, sure. I know how to do that. I'll give it a try. And so once we have those conversations, then we think about what adjectives I would like to use to describe how my horse moves. And a lot of times I have people list the adjectives that you already would use, right? So what are the adjectives to describe how your horse moves? Okay, let's be aware of those. Now, which ones are you looking for? Okay, now we have those adjectives. And at this point, I'm not telling people what they should be looking for. You just list your own adjectives. Now, let's play with each of those dials, relaxation, energy, and balance, just for fun. Let's just muck around, play with one, change it, see what happens, change another one, see what happens, move the haunches to the left for one stride, see what happens, raise the energy a little bit, then let go, see what happens. And you're playing and observing and playing and observing. And what happens, always, unless there's some sort of physical limitation, but actually even then something will change, or the horse is just really not solid enough in their foundation that they're in some way freaking out or not okay or in pain. If you muck around with that, if you play with those possibilities, those are all possibilities, right? How much energy range, what type of balance shift we can make. If we can play with those possibilities, you will stumble across. I'm emphasizing that on purpose. That's not an editing glitch. If you play with those different possibilities, you will stumble across at least one stride that will feel better than before. And in that moment, it will feel easier. Now, sometimes the ease comes a little bit later, and there's other protocols. There's things you have to do, like find your active neutral and be really precise in your communication and all these other things that we build in order to allow this protocol to work. But if you play with the possibilities, you will find a place where you're thinking, ooh, that felt great. And what do I mean by great? It means you felt more of the adjectives that you were looking for. Now, I'm still not telling anybody what they should be looking for. So we play around with the possibilities. We find a spot. We let it go, because the game is not controlling. The game is not how to make it happen. The game is not how to make it look like it's working even when it's not. And by that, what does that look like? That means keep your leg on, hold your hand, don't let them escape out the shoulder, keep driving, right? So that's the opposite of this protocol. That's making it look like it's working when it's not. The sweet spot protocol is based on the communication. If we ask our horse to make a shift in their energy and they like, I don't know what that means, or I can't handle that right now, then that's as far as we go. We can't go on until we build the communication, so we have that to play with. And so you found your adjectives, you have the conversations, relaxation, energy, and balance. You muck around, you play with them of all the different possibilities, though, not holding anything together. You make a change, go to neutral, make a change, go to neutral, make a change, go to neutral. You scribble on the page. When you feel a stride that goes, ooh, that feels good, you still let it go. And then now you can go, what did I just do? Oh my gosh, I moved the shoulders to the left for a stride, let it go, then asked for more energy and let that go. And then I took a deep breath and relaxed my body. And then, oh my gosh, the stride felt good. Why don't we try that again? So you let the horse do what they want and you try that again. Let me move the shoulder and then I'll change the energy and then I'll take a deep breath. Oh my gosh, it happened again. I played around for half a circle or a circle, and then I got 3 strides. And then the next time I did it, it took me half a circle and I got 5 strides, then a quarter of a circle, and I got half a circle in the sweet spot. And pretty soon I do this couple little things with my horse in the sweet spot for the rest of the ride. That's the protocol. And that can be summed up in the sentence, precision arrives out of the possibility that play creates. Because you don't muck around forever. You're mucking around looking for something, and success leaves clues, and then you practice and you gain coordination and more insight, so you know exactly what you did to get your horse to be in that best moment. So this is where often when I'm teaching a student and we've gone through the layers, okay, our foundation is there, horse is in a good spot, you got the individual conversations, and then the horse will be moving in such a way, and the person will be like, well, what should I do? You know, here I am, I've traveled all the way to Australia, and they're in front of me for these 3 days, and they're paying for my best advice, my expertise, my guru magical words to them to tell them exactly what they need to do. And they look at me with these hopeful eyes, and I go, change something. I go, what should I do? I don't know. Change something. And then we'll see what happens. And that's not a cop-out. I have ideas. But remember I said earlier, sometimes we only see what's already in the mind. So I don't want to say, oh, I know, because I trained a horse that was just like that. And I've trained a whole bunch of horses that are just like that, so I know exactly what needs to happen. No. I may have trained horses like that, but I've never trained that horse with that rider on that day with all the stuff in either of their heads and that equipment. And the more I can approach this with as clean a slate as possible, and I tell you, that takes a little bit of practice if you have expertise. and you have a lot of experience, it's hard to turn that off. It's much easier to say, oh, I know exactly what needs to happen. Well, there's lots of things that might happen. You could start with this and then end up there, and you could start with something else and end up in the same place. So that's where, I mean, it's practical humbleness. It's not just, I'm not just saying that so I appear humble. It's a plan. It's not just a meme. It's a plan. And it's a protocol, and it's a framework. So, and that's where the confidence for the riders comes in. Because if I look at them and say, hey, I don't know, let's figure this out together. Here's the questions to ask your horse. You know, you can ask them to change their balance in these, 8 different ways. You have a range of energy levels. You have different ways to talk about relaxation. Like we, me, the student, and the horse together in this moment can play and observe and listen. And that's why at the end of the sweet spot protocol, each rider can tell me exactly what they need to do to find their best trot or best walk or canter, whatever it is that they're doing. It works for anything. Your best half pass, your best transitions. The same protocol applies. So 3 lessons, 3-day clinic. By the end of that 3 days, every student can tell me exactly what they need to do to get their best success. Contrast that with so many people who are taking lessons, they're being micromanaged to brilliance. And the next day, they don't know how they got there. And so sometimes there's a time to be micromanaged and to be led to feel things you couldn't find on your own. But boy, the next step is you got to figure out how to recreate it. And I think that's on the teacher. So that's my huge emphasis was like, I've got this thing. I know it works. I'm going to teach people around the world. I might see them for 3 days and then I leave. How can I do this? And it's not just a training technique, but it's how I train. It's not just a teaching technique. It's how I train horses too. I approach each horse. Even though this horse might be like, oh, I've ridden 1 million horses like you. I know what you need. I don't. I try to come in with that same curiosity, that same feeling of, I don't know. Let's see. Let's find out together. Dressage, or your horse's way of moving, can only be as good as the quality of the communication, which can only be as good as the harmony, which can only be as good as the happiness of the horse and human. So we start at the base, get the foundation, and then we see how far up we go. So my question to you, based on all of this that I've just talked about, is how do you want to feel? How do you want your horse to feel? I mean, no matter what activity you want to participate in with your horse, do you want to do it in the sweet spot of happiness and harmony and communication and ease of movement and eventually with strength and power? No matter what you want to do, no matter what discipline you are, no matter whether you ride Western or English or bareback or in some funny fuzzy saddle, no matter what level you are, we help you do it with more happiness, more harmony, more understanding, more ease, and more of the adjectives that you want to feel. And we help you do it in a healthy, safe, optimistic learning environment with support. Because I think everyone, including you, can become a little better today than you were yesterday. It can feel better sooner than you think. You can become more confident. This is what we do here. Me and my team of amazing instructors. So I hope this helps you, and I hope you really consider the Sweet Spot of Healthy Biomechanics program. It is my most highly supported program, and it's pretty freaking cool. And we're just here waiting to help you. Again, no matter what level you are, what discipline you ride, whether you're just going down the trail. If you want to do it with more relaxation, energy, balance, and ease and harmony, we can help. Precision arrives out of the possibilities that play creates.